Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Welcome to episode 3 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. With Cossie sunning himself in wonderful Scarbados and Danny uniting behind the new Ossett team, we're joined by town's very first podcaster, Jamie, the original White. And from behind the laptop to behind the mic, I've got Stu Foster.
Hello. Good to be here.
And of course, the stalwart that is Neil.
Good evening.
Is this bringing back memories for you, Jamie?
Yeah, certainly a different setup than what we were used to, where we had a single laptop and a basic microphone that cost about £5. So yeah, you've certainly you've outdone me there. Because
you were essentially Huddersfield Town's very first podcaster.
Yeah, I think probably going back about 8 years now. Myself and Ding, who was a member on Down at the Mac Forum, we did quite a few episodes of a podcast for Down at the Mac, probably spanning a season. We did a few interviews as well. Sean Jarvis, Boothie. I met Lee Clark as well, so it was around that era. Yeah, it was really good fun, so I'm looking forward to getting back involved tonight.
Good stuff. So, we were quite, again, Neil, for second week in a row, we were a little bit bullish, weren't we? We're quite looking forward to the season, and then it's going to be a bit of a tough one this week. So it's Manchester City 6, Huddersfield Town 1, and we don't like negativity as such, but it's a tough one.
We came a very convincing second on Sunday. It was, I don't want to criticise too harshly, we know the team that we had out, but it was toothless. I think the biggest bugbear for me on Sunday was the fact that regardless of the 11 that you put out, you've got players there who are obviously far superior in quality to us, but that doesn't stop you getting in amongst them and ruffling a few feathers and standing on a few toes and making a few, I'm not saying go and break ankles, but make a few tackles hurt. And I don't think we didn't put, well, it's a fact, we didn't put one foul in the first half at all.
I think part of me wants to say, once Christopher Schindler puts that penalty in at Wembley, part of me always thought there'd be the potential for days like this, and there's potential for more days like this. And one of the contributing factors for me was when you go away to the Etihad, if you catch them on a good day, you're in trouble. If you catch them on a good day when your spine of the 11 is lacking a bit of experience. So I had a quick look. So we've started with Hamer in goal. A quick look at Ben Hamer, and he's played 6 league games since January 2015 in the Premier League, which is not a lot. So despite being 30-year-old, Ben Hamer is still relatively inexperienced at Premier League level. Zanka was absolutely outstanding there last year. We've missed him. Because we're missing him, Congolo and Schindler are playing together in a back four for what I think is the first time in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And if we go away to Man City, for me, if everybody's 100% fit, all available, nobody's on paternity leave, my midfield 3 is Danny Williams, Jonathan Hogg and Aaron Moy, and they're all missing as well. So when you've got John Stankovic making his first Premier League start in a position he's never played before, and also Abdelhamid Sabiri, who's always been a number 10. He's had a little go as a number 6 and number 8 in pre-season. He's had to drop back into midfield. But again, this is his first Premier League start in that position. You go away to Man City, you get them on a good day. There's the potential for this to happen. And in reality, Philip Billing in there at number 8 is our experienced midfielder. And again, he's only played 30 starts for Huddersfield Town. He's still only 21, 22 years old. So it was always going to be a tough task. And that aside, what made it tougher, Neil, was that we were due to start the team with a 5-3-1-1. So a little excerpt from David Wagner at the end of the game was, "I'm pleased for John. It wasn't easy for him in the last 12 months. We prepared him as a centre-back, but when City changed their shape to a 3, he had to play alongside Philip Billing as a 6. So when you go there with a plan, with a team which is stripped of 5 or 6 quality players for us in the spine, and Pep Guardiola throws in that hand grenade an hour before kickoff, it's going to get a bit tricky."
Yeah, I understand all that. To take all that on board, you need to go there with your best 11, all in form at the same time. You need them to have a dip to still be with even a remote chance of getting anything out of the game. But like I say, my only criticism, not for the players, that's what we've got. My only criticism was the fact that we had nobody in there who got in amongst us, started ruffling a few feathers. It was a bit of a training game, to be fair. And I think City played at maybe 75%. And looking at Town, without being harsh, I think we probably did as well.
Yeah, I think for me, it happened all at the wrong time for me. 2 games into the season, we've just been beaten fairly soundly by Chelsea. City have opened with a win. You know, they're just wanting to pick up as many points, get as many goals as early on as possible. Last year, when we played City, they'd won the title. You know, we remember the opening sort of ceremony to that match. It was all about them, their families, their kids were on the pitch. We turned up. We needed a point. We were scrapping. We were desperate for points, and we got it. This year, completely different scenario. We at this stage of the season don't need the points. Man City are playing with a lot more freedom. We had 3, potentially 4 crucial players out. We've got Stankovic and Sabiri, arguably Billing as well, who are 3 players who, you know, normally certainly wouldn't be in the first team and probably have been earmarked as part of the development, part of the future. And we're relying on these guys to turn up at the Etihad and try and go toe-to-toe with City. And to be honest, the 6-1 scoreline didn't surprise me at all. You know, I thought we'd lose. I thought we'd lose by a few. The 5-goal deficit is a bit of a kick in the teeth, but I'm not devastated, and I'm not too surprised.
No, I don't think I'm devastated either. I think I probably want to talk about at least a couple of the goals, and I think the first one is the tale of 2 goalkeepers, isn't it? I mean, you've got Edison with his first assist for Man City, who from a dead ball situation, you know, puts the ball one bounce away from Aguero's toe end, and then we find, you know, our keeper, and I'm not going to be too harsh on him at the moment, on Hamer, but for me, he's at the edge of the box, and we've got Schindler, you know, attempting to cover Aguero, and it felt like an eternity for me. And obviously, you can see Billing running back towards the goal line as well, and it was like, you've got time to retreat.
He needs to be back on his line,
back onto your line, and almost let Billing, you know, try and that was incredibly frustrating. It almost happened in slow motion, and there's a nice, not a nice photograph actually, but where he's flapping for the ball, Hamer, with his eyes shut. If you search on Google, which is
a bit like that in stands, to be fair, eyes shut.
Yeah, so I mean, tale of 2 goalkeepers. You've got to give it to Edison. Wow, but you know, Hamer, I've got to put him at fault for the first goal, apart from the legendary pass.
So what I'll do, Stu, so we'll read out one thing David Wagner said afterwards as well. So he said, "We have to respect how good Man City were today. They were on another level. Every goal which we conceded was easy and avoidable, apart from Silva's free kick." So, and that's what you're alluding to then. I think on one side, it's very easy to criticise individual Town players. That the manager's done it, so there blatantly were errors there. I think what's also good to hear as well is that when we went there last year, we pressed Man City high. Everybody around us is quite excited, going, you need to get into them, you need to get up the field, you need to press them high. And then as soon as you press them high, you've got a player called, a goalkeeper who can drop the ball 80, 90, 100 yards on a sixpence for Aguero. He'd probably
get into some Premier League teams as a deep line midfielder.
One conversation me and my mate Tom had was, he nudged me and he went, if Edison was an outfield player, how far do you think he'd go? And we were both pretty adamant he'd be League One standard, probably.
Better than that, I think.
And that's the difference, and there aren't many goalkeepers like that, and you can see why Liverpool have gone and spent 60 million on another one as well.
Yeah.
You look on whoscored.com and it does have Ben Hamer down with 2 errors for the goal. After the game, Neil, we talked and I said potentially there's 3 there, and as an ex-goalkeeper, I'm also quite defensive of goalkeepers, but I'm also quite critical can be quite critical at the same time. I blow hot and cold all over the place. And for me, when a goalkeeper gets beat on his near post as well, I always look at that and I always go, that's one place you kind of should have covered.
It was 3 for me. It was 3 for me. And I don't want to hang him out to dry. I think he's coming,
absolutely not.
Coming to the team when we know, obviously we spoke in the last cast about the reasons why Lossell's not playing, not come back fit, etc. And Hamer had a great pre-season, to be fair. A very good pre-season.
To be fair to him, he made a great save from Gabriel Jesus just before that, Neil, where you can see you on camera just kind of smiling at him as the physio's counting.
Yeah, it took one nicely.
The jewels.
Banging the crowns, and it was pretty painful. And even Gabriel Jesus were laughing at him as well, to be fair.
Yeah, for me it was a bit of a shame because he'd actually made a couple of really good saves, and that's how Jonas Lössl started last season. He made a couple of good saves and his confidence grew, and then Ben Hamer's made a couple of really good saves which are great, and then he's come out for the Aguero one where he either needs to come out and do something or he needs to go back. As a goalkeeper, it's very easy to get caught in two minds.
As soon as he's got Schindler there and Billings backtracking, he's got to backtrack. He's just got to get back on his line and make it as small an area because he's not. Let's be honest, if he goes back to his line there, he's not getting chipped.
So let's not dwell too much on Ben Hamer. He's obviously not had the best of games there, but there are a few positives in there as well. So one other thing what I've done is I opened up a question to the wonderful world of Twitter, and I thought this was quite a good debate. So last year we had Laurent Depoitre played at Man City, and he sat on Fernandinho, who played in that defensive midfield role, and Steve Mounier sat on Fernandinho, or was supposed to sit on the defensive midfielder. They moved around that much, it was hard to tell from the stand, who the actual
you can't tell them, they're so fluent, aren't they?
Absolutely. So, but the idea was Steve Mounier would do that, and in those games, so my question was that I opened to Twitter was, in those top 6 games, who would you generally like to see there? Would you rather see Depoitre in there, or would you see Steve Mounier?
Yeah, I mean, I saw you put that out, and for a long time I've always been a fan of Depoitre in those games. You can see when he either starts a game or comes on as a sub, he's got the energy, he's harrying around defenders. Admittedly, if he and Mounier were both to do that for 90 minutes, I'd probably rely on Mounier to do it for longer, but he doesn't do it. That's not his style of play. He's almost a fox in the box, put a chance on his head or on his right foot. He'll probably end up in the back of the net a few times out of 10, but I would prefer Depoitre in those games where chances are going to be at a premium and we need to be putting pressure on the back line, but we also need to rely on sort of wide players and players with pace to come into the game on the back of that. We didn't have players in that mould against City on Sunday, so I'm not sure if Depoitre would have made much difference, but I think going forward in those kinds of games, we need to have the right setup, but Depoitre would be centre forward for me.
Yeah, I think I would echo that as well. I think Depoitre's a bit of a battering ram, and I think there's a fear element to him, I think, with the opposition as well, because he's a big lad, right, and he can muscle people off the ball. And I see Mounier as a guy in the box for the headers and the crosses, but when you set up how we set up against City, there was no way that we were going to even get up the lines and get crosses into the box. So for me, it felt preposterous that we were even, playing Mounier. And people disagree with me, but our only chance for, like we got for Stankovic, was a long throw into the box.
Mounier showed his value there.
Yeah.
He's got up, he's got the flick on.
Exactly. But
that's what he's good at, is in the air. But if you're not going to play with an out-and-out sort of winger or somebody who's going to get wide, your fullbacks aren't going to get final foot pitch in a game like that to get a cross in.
So, and if they do, then Mendy just gets in round the back of them and City score 7 or 8.
Mendy was phenomenal on Sunday. Yeah. Best player on pitch for me, to be honest. And that, for a left back to up with 3 assists is crazy. But on going on that subject, I think Depoitre proved last season that in those games, he's got the sort of, he's there for him. He's scored against Man U, scored in both Chelsea games. Yeah. Whereas in the other games against, say, lesser opposition, when we have got more chance of posing a threat out wide, that's where Mounier comes into his own.
So what my thought was when I posted this was, I would pick Depoitre in the top 6 games. I'm a big fan of both strikers. If you're playing somebody like on Saturday, we've got Cardiff coming up and we'll talk about them shortly, but I would always pick Mounier for that. I think Mounier's, his touch, his vision, his awareness, his link-up play, his speed, his ability to get into goal-scoring positions is better than Depoitre on a normal level. But when you need someone to fight, I think Mounier's fighting qualities, as to quote David Wagner, are a little bit underrated between town fans. I think he's good. He does battle. He does something which is really not that noticeable, and a lot of the time is one thing that strikers do is they do something which is called closing the passing lanes, whereby they'll stand in certain areas which stops the centre-backs from being able to distribute into certain areas of the pitch. And I've noticed that Mounier does that quite a lot. Depoitre is a battering ram, like you said, and
he's a chaser.
He is, and to be honest, there've been games against the top six, Man United away, Liverpool away, where Depoitre was where we were looking there thinking, I wouldn't mind Steve Mounier today. And they were, so, it's hit and miss sometimes, and it's a difficult, very, very difficult job when you play teams like that. But in these top six games, with how brave and how lion-hearted Depoitre is, I would probably give him the shirt for it. Just
to throw a curveball in on that one, I think there's an argument in those games, especially on Sunday when you're not going to see much of the ball at all, for playing Diakabe and Mbenza, somebody who's just ridiculously quick to tear after everything up front and just make their defenders play it a little bit quicker. Neither Depoitre or Mounier is going to do that with any sort of real out-and-out pace. So I think there's a shout for maybe trying that at some point.
Yeah, I thought the same, Neil, but you just, obviously, you wonder if they've got enough. Well, Mbenza, he's had no match time right, at all. And Diakabe, he came on and dared to actually run into the final third and give us a little bit of excitement for a couple of minutes or so. But yeah, he is also not got really much match time under his belt. So I thought about this a lot, and it's like, what did Wagner take out of the game? And it's almost like I felt like he was sort of hiding his true game plan for the rest of the season, and this season starts whenever mantra, which I'm sure we'll come on to at some point. Maybe that's what that means, and we are going to deploy that way, as you're suggesting.
I don't think there's any doubt on Saturday that we'll see the 4-2-3-1 again.
Yeah.
And I think we're guaranteed to see two of Mbenza, Diakabe, Van der Parra, Sobbe. Two of those will definitely start. I personally would go for Mounier against Cardiff, because I think we've got a lot more chance of getting balls into the box on Saturday. And hopefully we'll have Johnny Ogg and Aaron Moy back, and that'll make a world of difference. So,
going back to what we did, so the poll, the results do surprise me a bit. I know Depoitre's got quite a cult following online, doesn't he? And I've always thought there's probably quite a few sleeper Mounier fans who just can't be bothered engaging. I'm probably one of them. I like Mounier a lot, and he's got great comedy potential as well. If you follow his Instagram account, the one with the cows is amazing. So we've opened it up, and the results. So we've had over a couple of hundred votes, which is really good. So thanks for the feedback on that one and getting involved. And 54% Depoitre. So Depoitre's nipped it.
Closer than we thought then.
9% went for both, which I'm not really on board with.
Never for me. Not in any game.
Those 9% were clearly fans who have faced Town when we've played them both.
36%. And 36% for Steve Mounier. And for me, the best performance we've put in against the top six side was against Man United last year. Man United are obviously a different kettle of fish. They're very structured. They don't run across you like Tottenham do, like Man City do. They'll try and attack you one-on-one, 1-versus-1. So it's a lot easier to go 2-on-1 against them because you double up. So Man United are probably the easiest top six team to play against. So they'll just put in the thing now because they'll probably smash us 7-0.
There were people comparing our approach on Sunday to Brighton's approach against Man U.
It's not comparable.
You just cannot. Man U play a very, very defensive game, and they're so disjointed and all at 6s and 7s at the moment, whereas Man City are just world class.
It's different. Like I say, Man City, their right back will end up on the left wing in an attack. They're all over the place. They buzz around. They're so fluid, and there's little graphics that you'll see online where they've got almost, it went from the triangle, used to pass in triangles, and it went from you passing in diamonds, and Man City have got this shape which I don't think there's even a sided triangle which will even cover what they have, and it's incredible how
it's like an alloy wheel. It's like the middleman and then the points off it all the way around.
It's unreal.
It's great to watch.
And Man United are very much straight lined. Their left winger stays on the left wing, the right winger stays on the right wing, and they're a bit easier to plan and play against. But our best performance in that top six was at home against Man United, and for me, one of the keys when we were under pressure late in the game was Rajiv Van der Parra came on the right, and he played quite well on the right.
That day.
And
for an hour.
What we had, as well as your striker, because our strikers tend to drop on the defensive midfielder to try and disrupt any sort of playmaking that goes on in there. But what we need, as well as for me anyway, what we need as well as the striker that does that, whether that's Mooney or Depoitre, has been touched on already by you, Neil, and that's an outlet somewhere out wide which can play off Mounier, which can play off Depoitre and get us up the pitch. Because what hurt us a little bit for me was the fact that we camped in our own half, which is fine, but there are certain points in the game where you can't defend like it's the last 5 minutes for 90 minutes, and you have to get up the pitch, you have to win throw-ins, you have to take the sting out of the game, and you have to be able to give yourself a breather at times.
See, my issue with being camped in your own half and sort of letting have it in their half and coming onto you, once you get into your half, you've got to engage. And Town didn't commit one foul in the first half on Sunday. And that tells you everything you need to know about how close and how engaged we were.
We'll come back to that shortly. So what I'll do is, thanks for everybody who's got in touch with us via Twitter. So I'll read out some of the comments as well. So there's some good comments that have come in about why people have chosen what they've chosen. So Martin Shaw's come into us, and the first thing he says is, we need a threat that stops their centre-back setting up camp in the centre circle. I wonder if sometimes Mbenza could be used. I haven't seen much of him, obviously, but he looks lightning and has more strength than Diakabi. Pace will prevent the game from being condensed into our half, which is a point I've just touched on as well. So that's a great point, Martin. Harry Farrell as well. We need to keep the ball better when we have it in these big games, so Depoitre is a better fit for him. Dan Peckett. Depoitre, more demanding, more consistent, causes more problems for the opposition defenders. He's the only player to score against top 6 teams, so he automatically should be number 1 striker. Why he's not is beyond me. That's something I don't fully subscribe to, Dan, but thanks for that.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've not really been able to experiment with is, in these games, having that kind of raw pace in an upfront position. You know, last season we had Van der Parra, and that was basically it, and he's naturally a wide man. I think now that we've got the 2 new lads coming in, Mbenza and Diakabi, we've got the opportunity to take a chance and drop someone like Pritchard. You know, with all due respect to him, he's going to be ineffective against the likes of Man City and Spurs and Liverpool, because the midfield are just going to crowd him out. The defence will take on board. So why not try one of the new guys, maybe push him up a bit higher and give him something new to think about.
So something else to think about as well. So people have compared our approach to Crystal Palace as well last night, and Crystal Palace, let's be honest, Crystal Palace are financially on another level to us. They're paying, I think, Wilfred Zaha's new contracts on like £120,000, £130,000 a week, which is probably our top 3 earners combined together. But the way they set up is very often a 4-4-2, but with 2 wingers up front as well who track back, and then it drops into a 4-6-0. But what they do is they break with pace. Then they're a little bit braver on the ball, and I thought that's one thing which we lacked a little bit, was somebody in the midfield just to get on the ball and want to be on the ball. It felt a bit like a hot potato at times.
Yeah, I just don't think we've had the chance to get the players into the system to be going into it. Second game of the season away at Man City, you throw Diakabi and Mbenza in there, it's a massive risk, and obviously in hindsight it couldn't have been much worse, could it? But you do that and we lose 6-1, people are turning around thinking, what on earth are you doing? Why not play 2 wing-backs and 3 centre midfielders? Why are you playing 2 attacking wingers? We've just been torn apart. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. It might have turned out a different way, but all of last season we had one player who could have done that role, and you're not going to put Van der Parra up front. You know, try one of the new guys now, but it's going to take
him at number 10, Van der Parra, and it just didn't click for him for all the will in the world. It just
scored a couple of penalties, and that's about it.
Yeah. So just to finish off those points, John Lamb goes back with Mounier. Mounier is way better in the air. He might not do quite as much work, but actually wins headers, gains more territory. If he gets a chance, he's a better finisher too. I think that's true. I think the problem which we touched upon is when Mounier does win those headers, there's no one to head it onto, which is the problem on which we've alluded to with Diakabi and Mbenza.
And the one time that he did win a header on Sunday, we
scored, yeah. Absolutely. Alfie Kennedy, someone with more pace who could maybe stretch the opposition, so he's gone with an alternative to both. So that's what we've just discussed a little bit as well. And that's most of the comments. So
some good points.
For that. I mean, would you play just one of the new guys on their own and drop Mounier and Depoitre altogether? I mean, it seems
not
risky.
Not against Cardiff.
No, in the big games.
Oh, in the big games, I'd probably try that route, to be honest. Just for somebody who's got sheer raw pace to just any defender, however good they are, don't like somebody who's rapid running at them.
Yeah, and I think
you've got somebody putting them under. all game and then burn them out for 60 minutes, chuck next one on for half an hour.
I think that's it. It's like Matt said. You need some respite in a game. You can't chase a game for 90 minutes. It's impossible. Even if it was a Van La Parra or somebody like that who can literally just take it up the pitch and just, he's not necessarily need an end product. He's just hold the ball.
And he's great at that.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's a great ball carrier.
He can carry the ball and he'll try and take someone on inside, outside, and 3 or 4 times and then lose it. But you know what? Against some of the win a free kick, But against these sides, it's valuable breathing space to get some more air back in your lungs.
So just to finish on the Mounier versus Depoitre point, any guesses for who the WhoScored.com man of the match was?
Mounier.
Steve Mounier. So there we go.
But how are these stats compiled? Is it on assist? Is that given?
Yeah, I think the assist is given a bit of edge, and Stankovic has got a pretty
second.
good one. Yeah, does he get second? He does indeed. So
stats are great, aren't they? You can tell a million stories.
The one thing we take out of it is it shows that we have got that assist in us with Mounier's prowess.
So one thing we've touched upon a little bit here and has been debated quite a lot on social media as well in all forms is a lack of terrier spirit is what people are saying online. Have we kind of gone backwards a bit? And there's the David Wagner line that I forgot last week, which is, it doesn't matter how experienced you are, it doesn't matter how big you are, it doesn't matter how experienced you are. If you've got passion, desire, you've got no limits. And I love that, absolutely love that. The point online is that when we go away to places like that, do we lack that terrier spirit? And one thing Paul Ince has said on Match of the Day too, and I'm not a big Paul Ince fan in general with when he talks, but it was along the lines of what people have been saying, and so he's alluded to no foul in the first half, and I'll just read out the bit first, and it says, when it was pointed out Town didn't commit a foul in the first half when they trailed 3-1, Ince explained how he felt David Wagner's side should have gone about the task, which is a very typical Paul Ince thing to do. I can understand Huddersfield playing like they did after last year getting a point at the Etihad, but if you are going to play in a deep block, when City get to a certain position on the pitch, you have to go and engage. All Huddersfield did was run across, and allowed City to get into the way they wanted to play.
That's what Stankovic did for all game. He sort of crabbed, did a classic Ray Wilkins manoeuvre, side to side for 90 minutes.
But again, is he a victim of circumstance, I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Ideal world, Stankovic, Sabiri, they're not playing on Sunday, are they? To be fair. I think with regards to that loss of terrier spirit, I think since we got promoted to the Premier League, we've lost some of it, but not through any desire of our own. I think we just had to adapt the way that we play. In the Championship, we took a lot of teams by surprise for pretty much the entire season, and we were able to get up and at teams. The gap in quality between us and the rest of the division was not as significant as it is in the Premier League. So admittedly, we've probably had to lose some of that spirit purely because we've had to adapt the way that we play. With regards to that no limits quote, I definitely think with these first 2 games, the club has sort of neglected that. I think Wagner's post-match comments have been a bit defeatist, almost like, well, these teams are better than us. What more could we do, sort of thing. And I mean, I spotted a tweet by the club which was controversially deleted straight away, which was a quote. It was yesterday. It was, "The season starts now." And even though most of us, the guys in this room and most of the fans, deep down we believe that, the season was starting against Cardiff. It's not really the sort of thing you'd like to hear the club come out with. Just don't say anything. I actually messaged Matt and told him about that they brought that up, and that I didn't agree with it.
Yeah,
I'm all for everything Town do publicity-wise. I think they're brilliant marketing-wise, etc. I think, with Sean Jarvis, I think they do everything top-notch and have done for a lot of years, but little bits like that, they've just got to be careful before they press send.
Yeah. It's a strange message to put out, isn't it? Because people are paying money to go and watch Town first of all, and if they're writing them off before you even get there, then what's the point? And I don't know if we're going to have the apathy conversation or maybe save that for another day. But you could understand it, based upon those sort of comments. So the dangerous sort of things to put out.
Yeah. So I dug up the quote, the full quote, because It seemed a strange thing to say, saying the season starts now, and to write off 2 games where in one of them I thought we had a fair chance of getting something against Chelsea. So I've dug out the full quote, which is...
The Wagner quote.
The Wagner quote, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
So he says, "We are disappointed. We can leave these results behind us now. We expected more, but we have 2 defeats. Now the season starts against Cardiff in front of our own fans." And when you put it like that, it gives it more of a context about it, rather than just stripping out the part which says the season starts now against Cardiff. Which
that bit there is what the club.
Yeah, and not everyone will have heard the full context of the interview. So your average Joe turns up on Twitter on a Monday morning, sees that, and thinks, I've spent 60 quid on tickets. Yeah,
and the thing is, we all know it.
Yeah,
we know it, but we don't need
just need to
say it put in front of us. Yeah, don't say it.
I think one thing to add in as well is that, take goal difference out of it, Arsenal have had an identical start to season to us.
So we can see that with the season starts now mantra, it's aimed to galvanise. So we'll finish on that, but it's aimed to galvanise, but it's probably been misconstrued.
It's been misplaced, isn't it? I think nothing more than.
There's other messages that the club could have put out to help galvanise the fans. The whole us against the rest, no limits, terrier spirit. That's lacking from that quote. And to be honest, I think it's lacking a bit from what Wagner said, even with the full context.
I'm not one for giving team news to the opposition too early, but I think a great message for fans this week is if Zanka and Hogg and Moy aren't available on Sunday for Saturday, let everybody know now. Let everybody know that big hitters are back in, and we're really fired up for this weekend, because it's, like everyone said, we all know it does start this weekend now, but it's got to start this weekend now.
I just hope that Aaron Moy doesn't get the standard 2 weeks paternity, the SSP.
I think you might see Aaron Moy there on Saturday.
No, I agree. I think David Wagner has said that we'll make a decision on Zanka. I don't think they actually know until the end of this week, because he's not due to rejoin training until Thursday, Friday. But a positive picture maybe of Zanka in training does send out a little bit. And I think after 2 heavy defeats, I think Town fans are a little bit downtrodden already, aren't we?
A little bit tetchy.
I mean, I wouldn't be too concerned if Zanka misses out on the next game, because we'll probably play 4 at the back. The 2 centre-backs will be Schindler and Congolo.
Yeah.
I think, as I said right at the start, it was awful timing, the fact that we lost a centre-back when we have to go to City and play 3 at the back.
Yeah.
And your other option is Stankovic, who they ended up pushing forward. I wouldn't be too downhearted if Zanka missed on Saturday, because I think Congolo and Schindler are more than adequate.
So, with Cardiff coming up, you've had a little look at a couple of old boys, Neil.
Cardiff are chock full of Town old boys. Apart from the management team of Warnock, Blackwell and Rocket Ronnie Jepson, they've got Alex Smithies, Lee Peltier, Sean Morrison, Jazz Richards, who was sort of lesser known for being at Town on loan from Fulham, I think we had him. Anthony Pilkington, who interestingly enough hasn't been given a squad number, and Danny Ward, who's squad number 9. And looking from what their team was at the weekend, I think Sean Morrison's probably the only nailed on one that we'll see, to be honest. Smithies hasn't played yet.
I'm expecting them to be really awkward, difficult to break down. Similar in a way, I know I'm going down the Welsh route, but similar to the Swansea game last year as well, whereby they'll be well versed on defending their own box. They've got Sean Morrison, they've got Bruno Ekulmanga, I think his name is as well, and Sol Bamba, who has been nicknamed Sol Bombscare before in his career from the way he takes the ball out from the back, but at Cardiff he's very much limited in what he can do. And I think if we go there and we just put the ball out to flow like we usually do, and he throws across into one man in the box, it's going to be a bit of a frustrating day. So maybe there's going to be a case for patience. It's going to be a really awkward attritional game.
Yeah, I think so. I think Cardiff are going to be scrapping a lot this year, trying to scrape points here and there. I looked at just tried to pull up some stats beforehand, and last year I think they scored fewer than most of the teams in the top 6 in the Championship last season. They've obviously drawn a blank twice already this season. Yeah, they're going to be relying on the points here and there, scraping the 1-0 wins, because I don't think they're going to score many. So I think on Saturday we really have to be on the front foot.
And if we're being realistic about it, Town are probably one of the games as an away game that they've targeted to get something.
We're doing the same with them. It's horses for courses, absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be a difficult game. I hope people don't go there expecting us to roll them over.
It's not going to be pretty.
No.
At all. It's going to be a classic mid-season championship game almost, isn't it? Basically in August.
It takes me back to your point as well, Jamie, about Congolo playing centre-back, because against Swansea last year, Congolo played left-back and he doesn't always get forward massively. So against Swansea, what happened was the ball was shifted out to the right-hand side constantly, and I think Flo Hadajinai put close to 50 crosses or something in that game, and I think only 4 or 5 of them hit a target. So I just hope that we vary it a little bit, which could hopefully make us less predictable. Yeah, we're going to have to be a lot more inventive, and I think we've got the players this season to be more inventive than just putting the balls down the wing and trying to cross it into Mounier or De Poitre. As you mentioned, Cardiff are going to be strong defensively. They've got that aerial presence as well. So we could have a very frustrating game if we just try and ping it into the box and try and win some headers. We're going to need to be a lot more creative. So the question is, Stu, is it going to be our first 3 points on Saturday?
Well, I'm the eternal optimist, so I would say yes. And, looking back at last season, we had, 8 points out of the first 5 games, and I think we can probably match that this season. In 2 or 3 weeks' time, we'll all be sat here feeling completely different about Town. And I'll go for a 2-0.
You're asking me now, aren't you? Town win 2-1.
All right, I'm going to be the pessimist and think it's going to be an excruciating draw, 0-0, 1-1, something like that.
I'm kind of leaning towards what you've said, Jamie, but I think we could just nick this by a goal. I don't think people appreciate how hard this game will be because of how scrappy they are, and I think this is going to be a really, really difficult one.
I agree, but I think with the words that have come out of Wagner's mouth where the season starts this week, and we've just come off the back of 2 poundings, let's put it straight, then they need to come out. They need to come out.
Let's be fair, this tee on Saturday is probably going to show at least 5 changes from Man City game. I'd guess at least 5. So I think the cliche again, but it's a season starter, and it begins on Saturday.
It's like this, isn't it? If we don't come away with 3 points from that game, then we'll be having the apathy conversation sooner rather than later.
We will.
I look at the 2 fixtures after a bit different to you, Stu. I look at Everton and think, Everton don't look too bad. Richarlison's hit some form. That's going to be a difficult one. And I remember going there last year, and we offered very, very little against a very poor Everton team as well. And I just hope that when we do go there, we don't fear them as much as we did last year.
I just want to see us utilise what we've bought. We've gone out with a purpose this summer to buy Sobby for a lot of money for us, to buy Mbenza on loan, to buy Diakabi again for a lot of money for us. And hopefully we bought them for a reason, so we're not going to go to Everton, Leicester, etc. Hard games, yeah, but we're going to go there with fresh players, better players, and be able to try and hurt these teams.
Yeah, I imagine that apart from when we're playing the top 6, we're going to be sticking to that 4-2-3-1 formation with a bit of flexibility, which will allow us to play Mbenza, Diakabi, Van La Parra, you'd hope as well. Otherwise, what's the point? What are we here for?
Yeah, and I think the other player that we've not mentioned really is Eric Durm. And I'm sure we all watched pre-season on HDTV, and I just remember that one pass, and I was like, baller. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So if we can keep that guy fit and healthy, then he is our secret weapon.
To be honest, Wagner's saying that he's going to bring him back, get him firstly in the team for the Stoke Cup game, and that's sort of making me swing towards getting Inkar to Stoke. Just to go and see him.
Is that 2 weeks today? Is that? Oh, 1 week?
It's on my birthday.
Week today, right? Yeah.
It's my birthday, lads. Next week, isn't it? So hopefully we'll get
win
to the next round. Yeah.
So I'm thinking a little trip to Stoke.
I mean, that's not far. 1 week away to start seeing this player playing a competitive match is quite,
let's be honest,
quite a boost.
A nothing game.
Yeah.
I know the club will ever sell it as a nothing game, but it's a great chance to give a couple of these lads, chuck a couple of these wingers in, give them 90 minutes, get Derby, get Danny Williams in for a full game.
Yeah, and life in the Premier League as well, let's face it, what are we challenging for? In all honesty, so
survival.
Yeah, we're challenging for survival, and that's the sort of maximum.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, these cup competitions where you could get a little run together, all of a sudden they're a bit more appealing, aren't they? And for me, I'd be going for it.
Yeah.
Do you play him right or left back, Eric Durm?
I'll hold my hands up and say I don't know. Don't know.
He was a left back. He actually started as a striker at Borussia Dortmund 2. I think he also played wing a little bit as well, and David Wagner moved him to left back, but he's also played right back as well. And I think he's a genuinely two-foot player.
Looking at clips, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and he's genuinely two-footed, genuine quality, and I don't think it'll make a blind bit of difference which side he plays on. I think he'll just be very good in either.
I mean, in which case, I'd be dropping Löwe. If it's a case of where to play him, it's a case of who do you drop. And I'd rather see Löwe drop out than Haderjanai. I think Haderjanai is more of a threat going forward, which is what we're relying on. We're relying on balls in from the wingers. If it's a
back four and Congolo's there as well as a fit Zanka, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one.
Yeah. But will he play him further up pitch in that case?
Potentially. So
this lad's played at top level for Dortmund. He's got a World Cup winners medal. This lad is no mug. He's fit, he's in team.
Throw in as well that Flo Haderjanai to me looked really good in central midfield last year at Old Trafford in particular. Little cameos in centre mid, so it opens up other possibilities as well. Yeah. And one thing I think we maybe lack through the centre of the pitch is pace. You look at, I know, the different level like the Man Cities and Liverpool. And Liverpool last night, they've got Naby Keita running through the middle, and everybody has a quick player. You look at Everton, and we got destroyed probably by Idrissa Gueye.
Yeah.
Another quick player who breaks play up. N'Golo Kante, Jorginho, they're all quick for Chelsea, and I kind of look at that. And Haderjanai is a really quick player. He's foot wide. Foot speed's really good. So the question is, you don't want to drop Jonathan Hogg because he's pretty much everything what we do. But if he's not fit, Haderjanai is a really good fit for that central midfield spot. If Eric Durm can play right back. And speaking of right backs, Neil, we have a new one signed last week, at the end of last week. D'Amico Dehaney has joined on a free from Manchester City. I think none of us will really know much about him. 2 caps for England under 20s last year, which he got at 18 years old, which is pretty good to get in at that point. He signed a 2-year deal with an option for a third. He's played for Man City's senior side in the Checkatrade Trophy. And every time you say Checkatrade Trophy, I think of the jingle as well.
.com.
Yeah, and he's been on the bench in the Carabao Cup and the Champions League as well. So he's someone who has become available, and apparently we've beaten off quite a lot of teams to get to him. With the academy with the academy recruitment changing tact, I hope this is something that we see more of. Kind of bringing these players in from top-end clubs. I see a lot of players. I'm going to go extremes. There's a lot of Arsenal whose name escapes me. Jadon Sancho, another one at Manchester City, who's decided to go to Borussia Dortmund because he's going to get most for. Yeah, and he created a goal the other day as well, which was really good. There are others as well that are now starting to go to Germany. Reece Oxford, I think, is one that's due to go over.
Gladbach is he going to?
Yeah, Red Bull Leipzig or Rasenballenspor Leipzig, to get around the rules, have been. I know they've been looking at Ademola Lookman. They want him permanently from Everton. I don't think that ended up going through in the end.
No, I think they saw that yesterday, quoting 28 million now.
That's crazy. Yeah. But these young players are now starting to go, do you know what? Man City, Liverpool, Man United, my pathway is blocked. I'm not going to get into that team. And it's true. It's something I've bemoaned for a long time, is that if you go to Manchester City, where's your pathway? I know we're going Ross Wilson pathways, aren't we? But where's your route into the first team? And you go to Huddersfield, who've got a smaller development squad. I kind of hope, I know that the money's tight, and we've seen Dean Hall last week say that the budget's going to get smaller year on year as wages get larger. But I just kind of hope that we have one or two of these lined up? Because with a smaller development squad, we may
there's got
see
to be a lot of these
potential
players out there. There's got to be a lot of gems to be had. And, if they're coming from Man City's academy and they've got up to sort of 2021 before they're getting released, they've clearly got something about them to get to that age group anyway.
And of course, we've already got a decent right back from Man City at 18.
We have, Mr. Smith.
Who did all right, I thought, against Man City on Saturday. It was a tough game. I like Tommy Smith. I'm biased.
I do as well.
Smith
I can't begrudge him anything. I think he's been absolutely amazing for the club.
I think
from when he first came in, he made his debut away at Sheffield Wednesday. It was a live game on TV. And you think, who was this? Tommy Smith. Very, very good. He's been good since.
I think I might be wrong in saying this, but I think Tommy Smith was potentially our first signing when we got to the Championship.
Could well be, yeah.
I might have to look that one up.
Sure.
If it's wrong, I'm going to delete this.
But we'll pick you up on it if you're wrong.
I think last season he was possibly our leading assister. Not last season, sorry, the promotion season. Leading assister.
Yeah, him and Chunga were phenomenal.
Third or fourth top goal scorer as well from right back. He was a
second top assister in the league at one point as well.
Yeah, I thought he would be one of our first big sales. With the desire for big clubs to buy, youngish English talent. The sort of season that he had in our promotion season, I thought it'd be one of the big transfers to go.
Well, the rumour was if we failed to get promoted, Tommy Smith was going to Brighton. Was the rumour. Apparently that was going to happen according to certain sources, media sources I should point out. So that's a new guy in. So why don't we open it up to Twitter questions, which is always a dangerous scenario, isn't it? So go. I did post this one out a little bit late, so we've only got one. So we do have one person who seems to have fallen in love with your voice a little bit, and that's
can't blame him, to be fair, can you? Can't blame him.
Graham Rayner.
Bit of broad Yorkshire. Obviously likes it.
He's a good lad, is Graham.
Here is Graham's question. Which of our new signings do you think we should have played on Sunday? Who would they have come in for and why? And he does make a mention that hindsight is a wonderful thing. He says he'd have played Juninho instead of Sabiri because of his energy and willingness to put himself about. We've touched upon it a little bit, but would you guys have changed anything?
When I saw the team, I was filled with dread. But when you look at the team that we had available, or more so those that weren't available, I don't think he had many more options other than going because if you looked at our bench, Diakabi and Benza, Sobby, Van La Parra, 4 wingers on bench, Danny Williams, who's clearly not fit enough yet. I can't remember who the sub was now, to be fair, apart from keeper.
Yeah, I mean, I'll hold my hands up and say I wouldn't have done anything differently based on the players that were available. I would not have played wingers, out and out wingers in that match because, yeah, it probably would have also ended 6-1 and Wagner would have been slated for being too attacking.
I think that's it, and obviously, he put Sabiri in there, and he's a new player as far as I'm concerned. We've hardly seen much of him, haven't we? And he's had a decent pre-season. If you look at the videos, he didn't really cover himself in glory, but he's one of them who I would class as a new signing for this season, almost.
And let's be fair with Sabiri. If he'd not played these first two, if he'd not come on against Man City Sunday, you wouldn't have expected to see him against Cardiff this week. So to see him lining up against Man City, that were.
And the club are featuring him in little vox pops and videos, aren't they? Yeah. So it's like they're readying him to bring him into the first team proper. So we're going to see more of him.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'd say on Juninho is that I kind of see where Graham's going. So he's saying we've bought a central midfielder.
Yeah, it's like for like.
Yeah, we've played a centre back and a number 10 in midfield, and I think the only point I'd make to counter that would be that Juninho injured himself early on in pre-season, and he himself didn't get too many games during pre-season, and David Wagner's somebody who likes people to be fully entrenched within the squad and have had some form of experience in there, and it was probably a bit too soon.
But he also says only a lot that the players won't be thrown straight in. Like we didn't see him Ben's on bench for Chelsea game because they've got as much work to do in classroom as they have on training pitch to learn the sort of the town identity and the way we play. So to throw a relative kid in Janino who's not played that much football pre-season. Although I do see what Graham's getting
I can see the reasoning for it. He's a genuine central midfielder, isn't he? Yeah, so I get that. But I think the problem is his injury in pre-season's probably slowed him down in his start, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he wasn't even on the bench indicates that he's not even half ready to step in, and whether, to start him.
Looking at the situation we found ourselves in with no Hogg, no Moy, Danny Williams not fit enough. I think we mentioned the first podcast that my biggest concern of the summer recruitment, and I think it's been good, to be honest, but with Aaron Moy going away for the Asian whatever it is in January for a few weeks, with the likelihood of Johnny Hogg getting injured, Billing sort of flits in and out of form, even though when he's on it, he's class. Danny Williams, obviously, injury record's not great. That just leaves us a bit glaring for when we get to January midfield-wise, and I think that showed already. We're 2 games in, and the central midfield, if you're going in with Sabiri, Stankovic, Adajinai, Billing, it's not ideal, is it?
Another question's coming from a mate of mine, Simon Copeland. He said he's surprised to see Mounier and Depoitre up top in both games at a certain point so far, given that the system wasn't tried in pre-season. Do you think we've perhaps missed a trick in not working on that a little bit during pre-season, or do you think it's just a plan?
We spoke about this last week, didn't we? I just don't get it. I just don't get it at all. It's as soon as I saw Depoitre coming on at half-time, I'll be honest, I just assumed that it were taking Mounier off.
Yep.
And then I saw Mounier come out and I'm thinking, well, we're going down this, I can't even say tried and tested it. The times we've tried it, it just don't work. So to see that happening again on Sunday, I mean, if you're going to bring an extra striker on and take Sabiri off, for me, that's when you do chuck a Diakabi or an Benz or a Van La Parra on, and just put somebody rapid alongside Mounier to, start harrying and chasing stuff down. But to put somebody on who's just none of that, I just found it odd, to be fair.
Yeah, I can't remember a game where it's worked for us as a system, to be honest, either starting or bringing one of them off the bench. I don't think it's a system that's suited to football in 2018. I mean, you look at the rest of the Premier League, the only other team that plays it even now and again is Burnley. They'll sometimes play 2 up top and with Barnes and Vokes, but not every match, and it doesn't always work out.
Didn't they just last
Did
game?
Watford do it?
Yeah, little and large. I mean, that's sort of
but
how it works.
Not that style. Not 2 of the same style.
Exactly.
Burnley are the only one who sort of do touch upon that. I wouldn't ever do it. I don't see it ever working for us. Not when we've got sort of standings like Diakabi and Benza, whilst not being pure out and out strikers. They should be able to play that role, dropping off the big guy.
No, like we say, we did touch on it last week, Neil, and what also happens is they become isolated at top, so one of them ends up being sacrificed to drop in at number 10, which also doesn't work. And
I think it also proves that David Wagner has not yet listened to this podcast, and he needs to start listening and taking that on board.
I hope he never does, to be But one thing for me, Simon, what I'd probably have a look at is I agree in that Depoitre and Mounier are just systematically programmed to attack that first ball, and even on Saturday they both went for the first ball and neither ran off each other again, and it was only really when Diakabi came on that Man City just had to think about something. And I think it was the left-sided centre-back Laporte who had 1 or 2 little moments with Diakabi, and it was Diakabi's speed which caused that. And if we are to push more men up, I would look at maybe Kachunga, someone to run across, or Diakabi. I think it was
Laporte who Sobby turned inside out at one point as well.
Yes.
I was quite impressed by that.
Yeah.
I think that shocked everyone, and just including the team, to be fair. It was like, we've actually just beat them in the box, and shock hit, and we just didn't deliver the final ball, but it was like, wow, we're capable.
Now, you look
turned them inside out.
And I'm expecting to see 2 of these 4 wingers starting, and we've just got to.
Okay, so that is pretty much it for this week. If anybody would like to get involved with the post-match post-match breakdown that we have on Saturdays. Just drop the Twitter account a quick message. We're always looking for people to get involved and offer an opinion as well. And thanks to everybody who's got involved so far. So thanks to Dan Porritt, aka @GingerOgre on Twitter, and the Relentless Machine, that is Elliot Wheatbowen from Talk of the Town. Thanks again, guys. And if you guys would like to get involved again, just drop us a quick message, and we're always looking for people. And Cossie's usually milling around the gas club somewhere as well with his phone looking for people to chat to. So thanks again for listening. Thanks for all your support, and we'll catch you again next week.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears.
Pate's got a chance. Pate scores! Jack Pate scores! Headman is in there! Smith scores for Huddersfield Town! 3-2 Town! Forestieri, Danny Ward saves! Danny Ward saves! De Quattro's in, round De Gea! 2-0 Huddersfield Town! Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!